business to Ondo State?
Well, when we talk about bringing business to Ondo State, it's about my programs, what I want to do. I want to set up, for instance, the Ondo State Major Program Infrastructure Commission. Responsible for helping us to do our roads. I want to set up things like Ondo State food and cocoa processing. Remember that the cocoa produced in Idare, and
Thank you so much, Mr. Ibrahim. I'm afraid we need to move on quickly now. Dr. Aguilar, your party, a chieftain of your party, had said allegedly that he got some funds allegedly from the office of the former National Security Advisor to fund the campaign in 2015. It brings to the fore the fact that where are you getting your fund? Is it also from the same source?
Should not be doing this like that now. But let me correct that view. There are a lot of misrepresentation here. The Shifalaye never got money from NSA. Shifalaye never got money from PDP. PDP gave money to SDP, which is a common practice that's been going on. PDP itself said they Shifalaye to raise funds for him, and already raised funds of about 25 million, and they gave to Buhari, even though they were not in the same party. So the more questions can be this out. We know about the credibility of the party because of the party manifesto, because of the position of the party, and talking about my own grassroots connection. You also need to understand that by the time I joined...
Thank you so much.
The party...
Thank you so much. Your time on this is up. But let's quickly move to the issues of economy now. We've moved past the issues of past records and backgrounds. Let's move into the issues of economy. We are in recession in Nigeria, and the recent result on inflation are nothing good in Nigeria. We do know that Ondo State has enormous agro-economy under the ground, but a lot of people believe that those are not tapped into. If you're elected as governor of Ondo State in the first 3 months, what would you do?
Well, I will not subject myself to people who 8 months. We go to look into this.
At your fingertips.
That we have to shift our ground from how we used to do things. If we don't do this, we will say the same things as we have said before, and we'll end up in the same way. First, the kind of program we have, which is called ECA, I've taken ECA after excess crude allocation, the 4 or 5 billion a month. But it's July this year, government took about 9 billion.
Okay, because averagely, about over 500 million averagely is the internally generated revenue for Ondo State. One will wonder, compared to about 3 billion that is gotten from federal allocation, with some of the ideas that you have, you said is SGR, not IGR. The people of Ondo State would like to know how you want to get more funds to run some of these ideas you've talked about.
There are 2 stages for this. At the beginning, you come in, you will need to take special efforts because Ondo State people will not be willing to wait for you while you are developing the new factories, the new industries, and so on. So we will generate that initial funds from giving concessions so that people will come in and build concessions. Then we know that there are some people who do big-time business in Ondo State and who have not been doing what they're supposed to do. We are also trying to make sure that the economy that has been filtered away may be redressed in a way that I cannot say publicly at this time. But for the generating revenue, we are going to, for instance, decentralized power system so that we have 1 megawatt of power provided by solar, provided by wind at different local governments, so our businesses can now start going around that.
Thank you, Dr. Agule. Mr. Ibrahim, with all of these monies that come into Ondo State, do you think Ondo State could get more, and how do you think you would go about this if elected?
My leadership is to create wealth. The way to do that is not to show heavy reliance on federal allocation. And immediately after the swearing-in, if I'm the governor of Ondo State, the first job I'm going to do is to eradicate all forms of taxes. So personal income tax will be eradicated. In a recession, you don't drive the economy with taxation. So you have to let that go completely, so that people will be happy that they are not paying any payee again. Now what you do is to create infrastructure development commission to touch on the roads. And what you have to do is to do voluntary contribution. Because we have eradicated personal income tax, we now set up what we call 10,000 naira for development of infrastructure in Ondo State that is already in a bad shape. We have 3.5 million people. If you just pay 10,000 naira, multiply by just 2 million compliance, that is 20 billion naira in a year. Times 4, that is 80 billion. That is enough to develop our roads. We should be talking about innovation in revenue, not federation accounts. We are created for wealth. We are 9 states that have all surrounded with natural resources that can give us that development.
Mr. Olushola, okay, same question about how you hope to get more money for Ondo State. Are you also hoping to stop personal income tax, just like Mr. Ibrahim here?
Thank you, Shilon. First and foremost is to look in-house. I believe that if we can curb some excesses to manage, because part of the burden that is weighing down the state today is servicing of debt. I will renegotiate the debt, I will schedule them, so that the amount of money I'll be using to service debt per month will reduce. And whatever I gain from that will be plowed back into running the government. 2, I will not cancel personal income tax. I will not cancel it. It's statutory, and I'm going to follow it up. I will ensure that the mechanism for collecting our internal revenue is strengthened. I believe there are a lot of leakages going on. That is why our IGR is oscillating between 400 to maximum 800 monthly in Ondo State today. When we strengthen
I'll give a minute each to the candidates before we go on this break to talk about
in our jurisdiction in Ondo State. We're in a recession, you just said that. You don't drive economic recession with taxation. People who haven't got salary for 8 months, you don't go back to them and begin to get taxes from them. So we eliminate completely, we call it tax integration. So as a state government, we're going to eliminate completely personal income tax. Come to your next question about revenue generation. I've told you about voluntary companies. The issue of when you eliminate personal income tax, then you introduce that infrastructural development commission levy, which is just 10,000 naira. We have 3.5 million people. If 2 million will voluntarily pay that, that is 20 billion naira. That is even more than the taxes you have been collecting in the last 4 years. So that is one of our programs. Now, we have other programs that will bring about money. We're going to set up Ondo Oil, for instance. We're going to allow local government to have 10 gas stations, within their domain. That gives us major marketer of petroleum status in the state. When you are a major marketer of petroleum products, you are entitled to 11 million liters of allocation from NNPC on daily basis. 6 naira is the profit on a liter. That is 6. Ondo is rich. I'm not going to tax them. I'm not going to ask them to pay through their sweat. Right. No more tax from the very day that I'm sworn in as a governor of Ondo State.
A lot of people will be holding you to your words, but Dr. Agloye, talking about generating money for the state and how you hope to do that, we're talking about taxation. Are you happy with the way and manner people are being taxed at the moment in Ondo State?
Well, I'm not happy about this, but let me also quickly say that the recession that is in Ondo State is all about corruption. There is no recession in the world. There should not have been recession here. So once we repair the state, then now we can continue to work. And to repair the state, we will need to divide the work into two parts. The one that is a medium and long-term one will not give you succor immediately. The one that will give you succor will be part where we want to train people. We want to train young people, because the main issue that we have on our state is to turn the young people from being job seekers to job providers. And there are two things required here. The young people themselves, they're well talented, they'll be said to be one of the best talented in West Africa. Then of course, the enabling environment. We will provide that enabling environment for them, and in the first 6 months, we are targeted to train 125,000 people. And the process of this is very clear, and we will also give them access to entrepreneurship training. We also give them access to loan. The difference between some of the things that other people have been saying is that it will not be done by government.
All right.
I cannot trust government to do some kind of business. We will leverage on private sector.
Your time is up, please. Yeah. Let me quickly take you to another area that is very important in the lives of the people of Ondo State, and that is the pensioners. Would you increase their pay?
The pension?
The pensioners.
Was a pension for people who had
retired people?
Yes. Well, I do not know about whether it will be increased. What I know is that my mother is a pensioner. I want to go into government and remove the kind of suffering which they put her through just to come and collect money. So if you are on pension, you receive your money regularly. You resign or retire from government, you get paid your gratuity. Those are the things that we must look at immediately. Don't forget, we are in very bad poverty stage, that people are already beginning to think that to be poor and to be in poverty is a part of life. We want to put a stem on that and stop that, so that while we keep the corruption at bay, because the corruption that causes the poverty, we keep that at bay and we address directly the issue of poverty.
Minimum wage is another very important issue. It's 18,000 naira. That's the national minimum wage. And that's about, if I'm not wrong, about $60 or something. And one will wonder, if you are elected, some state governors are already complaining that they cannot even pay salaries. But considering what is happening in the country right now, 18,000 will hardly buy you just a few things in the market. Would you be looking at increasing minimum wage for workers in Ondo State if elected?
So it's sad to say that the issue surrounding the minimum wage is fraud. I served as Minister of Defense in negotiation with federal government on minimum wage. And then what do? They want to raise the wage of level 1 or grade level 1 from 14 to 15, and the guys on level 17 get their own raise by almost much more than all the aggregates to pay the minimum wage. That is where the problem is. Government must redesign what they call minimum wage. There's a strata of people who earn from level 1 to level 17. When you are adjusting it, it is the minimum one you want to adjust. But people hide under the adjustment of the minimum one to adjust everything. So what happens is that the salary increase for the minimum wage people goes to about maybe 15%, and the one for the high one goes about 45%.
Let me go from here to this way again, this time around, Mr. Ojola. Okay, the issue of pensions and the issue of minimum wage. Those are also questions that I would like you to answer to. Would you be increasing minimum wage, and what would you do with Ondo State?
Thank you very much. The situation we have in Ondo State and generally in Nigeria about personnel is lamentable. people who have served their father's land and they cannot get remunerated. Some of them, wise little ailments will make them lose their lives is pitiable. So the first thing I will ensure is that they are paid as and when due, like those in service, once we can go through and solve the problem that has brought us to this situation we are in the state. Yes, the minimum wage today cannot be a living wage, no doubt. But the situation we are inheriting, 7 months salary unpaid, when government will have to strive to find ways and means to raise money to be able to pay the backlog of arrears and then start to pay as and when due. It will be inconceivable at this moment that the first thing I will do as governor is to start thinking about how to increase the minimum wage. For the first 1 year, it will not be on my agenda. But when I have strived by expanding the economic base, ensuring that more revenue coming to the government purse and that employment is generated, we reduce the level of poverty, then we can begin to look in that direction. What I want to be sure of is that people are getting their remuneration so that it can boost our productivity, can boost their capacity to work. Minimum wage will remain as it is until we are able to solve the problem of arrears of salary that inheritance as the governor of Ondo State.
You were elected. I'm sure. Ibrahim, question. A lot of people will even be asking, is it too much burden some of the civil servants serving in Ondo State, considering the issue of minimum wage and those who have retired and their pay? Some of them will say that it's been a long time they got them.
Well, the number of civil servants that we have in the state is even below the expectation of what we're supposed to have. If you're going to drive innovation, you need more people to be at work. It's unfair, it's unjustifiable to say that we will pay 18,000 to workers. I don't know what they're going to do with that. In my company where I have to my group, the entry level is 75,000 naira. So I'm going to certainly increase the minimum wage salary for the workers.
How soon would you do that?
Yeah, I'm going to do it immediately because I've told you before now that we're going to have 20 billion coming from infrastructure compliance. I've told you we're going to have 2.5 billion naira from Ondo. We have 4 to 5 billion coming from federation accounts. Let me tell you, Sean, it's about leadership. It's about management. It's about creating resources. You cannot use workers that are hungry to come and create resources. If you improve the welfare of the workers, they multiply their productivities, government become expanded, microeconomic resilience become visible, and poverty begins to disappear from the society. So to me, as the governor of Ondo State, over my dead body, my driver collects 75,000 naira a month. There is no any staff of Ondo State that will be collecting 18,000 in a month. Quickly, sorry, come to your pension. The argument about pension, because you are the two other contestants. Now on pension, it's also unfair to allow people to collect a pension that they go when they retire in 1980, which is about 10,000 naira. When you have increased the salary of the civil service. So we must increase the pension salary proportionate to the adjustment that we have in our balance sheet. So we are going to increase their pension collection.
Possible to bring minimum wage. So you need to understand that. If you increase the minimum wage to 75,000, for instance, the farm set will be asking is going to be increased to 1.5 million. Then it will be too heavy that the education has to be qualitative, and that there is enough money in the system, if it is not squandered, to be free education for some group of people with the age, like in the primary school, in the secondary school. But of course, the issue of bursary should that when you are threatened, you take very decisive measures. But I will also, as governor, address the issue of cattle. I produce my cattle and make sure that Ondo State produces the cattle. So if you have to bring your cattle to Ondo State, it will be to come and greet the cattle that you already provide here. But I will also be very tough on the issue of security, but noting that injustice provides basis for insecurity, and I will make sure that the state provides justice at all levels.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Issues of security, very important.
Yes.
Let's take it from a question of herdsmen and how you will handle it.
Well, the issue of security to me, in my campaign, I've said that, you look, armed robbery takes place in a community. Stealing takes place in a community. In that community, seated is another. So the traditional rulers will be giving gross 5% of state allocation for them to stabilize their communities in time of security. If we take it from that, we are also going to fund the government-established security institutions. We are not creating a new one. Then let me assure you of that. But we are going to ensure that we fund the police, we fund the Directorate of Security Services. They need funding. They need new vehicles. You can't use those wagons to pursue armed robber that is driving a jeep. That is disaster. So this clustering disaster will remove. The policy of our government, when I take over the government, is that we are going to use 5% of the state gross allocation. State gross allocation coming from federal account, we hand it over in cash to the traditional institutions for them to prevent, to manage security and development in their
Some
areas.
people have criticized the issue of security votes.
Yes.
Some people say it's a fraud. Do you think so?
I don't actually need security vote. Well, I'm not going to take state money to be protecting myself under the ambit of that's fraud, that's corruption. Because it's unaccountable. You don't even know how many people are spending on security vote. If other people are not protected, how can you be spending billions on yourself to be protected? If I stabilize the system generally, then I'm free within the system, just like everybody is free within the system. So my government will not spend 1 naira for government security vote. 9 billion. Now, the production of oil into the OPEC markets came down from 2.5 million barrels a day to 800,000 barrels a day. Now, poverty level has gone the highest ever in history. Come back to Ondo State. It was a complete hopeless situation. Under our Gagu administration, there were legacies of network of road connections, connectivities, productivities, and of course institutions were built. The Mimiko administration in the first 4 years was hopeful. It wasn't a completely a hopeless situation. Mimiko was able to jumpstart some of the dead institutions, like providing buses for secondary schools, providing roads. Look at the road that you plan to this place was built by that administration. There are little 1 or 2 things that the women have done wrong, but that does not completely mean that the administration is hopeless. PDP is one party that is formidable, focused for development, for transparency, and for the desire.
So you're happy with how PDP has handled the state so far?
Oh, of course. PDP haven't done completely bad. That's what I'm telling you.
They have not done completely bad.
Yes, they
have done bad.
They've not gone completely bad.
Okay, there's another question for you, Mr. Ibrahim, and is that someone here is asking, how can an Ondo indigene who is so successful not have one business in the state be trusted to govern and manage Ondo State?
Oh, that means that the president doesn't have enough knowledge of my investment. 37 filling stations in the state, investment in the shareholding of many banks that operate in
Where things are ready, where things are kept away. So as for my own security, if I'm doing well, I will be the same way I have been, deal with the people, because I have covenant with God and I have accountable only to Ondo State people.
A lot of people have said there is recession. Some people are asking that will you cut down the number of people that will serve in your cabinet if elected?
Number of people?
Number of people who serve in the cabinet if you're elected. Number of people in government. They say...
I don't understand.
A lot of people have said that usually the government is burdened by how many people have been, appointments that have been made. Would you cut down on the number of political appointments if elected?
It would be impossible to do the same thing as my brother had done, is have so many appointments. But I can assure you that we will do the needful. We will ensure that people who need to be engaged are thoroughly engaged. And then we will also not only engage people, we will go back into the institutions where people have been laid out. We inspect this and where necessary put them back. But we will not appoint people who live in Lagos, who live in Zaria, who are only alert essays, who receive only alerts and so on.
All right. Thank you so much. This is the moment of rebuttals where we allow the candidates to ask themselves some questions. And you have the opportunity to ask two candidates questions, and of course that is very simple here. We'll start with Mr. Olushola. Okay, you have 1 minute to ask the two of them questions, and they have 1.5 minutes to respond to each of those questions. Each question to each of the candidates beside you, your colleagues there.
Thank you very much. Dr. Oluwagowe, I've had cause to listen to you. We seem to be prophesying and pursuing the same philosophy about developments. Most of the things I've heard you talk about are things I also believe in. Given the fact that we want somebody with a sense of mission, direction, and who has the fear of God to lead this state, do you not consider the option of aligning with me to deliver?
Your time starts now.
Thank you, my brother Olushola. I will not consider that option. But as governor, I know that I will set up a stakeholders council. There will be coalition at this stage now for the government, something akin to unity government, because we are actually in a period of crisis in Ondo State, and you need all the good hands to be on deck.
Thank you. Mr. Olushola, you have the opportunity of asking Mr. Ibrahim a question in 1 minute.
Question for Ibrahim?
If you don't have that, there's no problem.
No, I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
I listened to your generous policies, abolition of taxes, introduction of free education, there will be no security votes. Considering the state of our economy, that we all agree that we will not start generating money overnight.
4 years, the remainder of the Southern Territory have not had electricity. As a governor, I will take advantage of my experience as Minister of Power. There are 2 power generating stations in that area, and we will get this working and turn the entire area to an economic zone where industries will be, where companies will be, and where the development of Ondo State will start providing power. In other areas, I will put what I call
thank you so much. The time is up. So let me give you the opportunity because of our time. No, I'll give you the opportunity to be able to ask the questions. So please ask the question because of our time. So let's limit you. So you can ask. Yeah.
Well, this is not working.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Just go ahead.
Okay. Question for
any of them.
Question for OK first. When I become governor, will you join me in the building of Ondo State?
If you are elected through a free and fair process, I will support you. I will give you support.
Really? This question is for my brother Gino. I intend to have what they call food bank. I intend to have stakeholders council. I intend to have food exchange. And I know that you have some basic and extensive strategy for making this work.